What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. We have a very valuable and a very interesting YouTube video that it is that we are going to be going into with today's content. We are going to be talking about why it is absolutely necessary to make a sacrifice in order to accomplish the life that you're truly here to live at a deep soul core level. What is it exactly that you're needing to sacrifice? What exactly does it mean to make a sacrifice? This is all of the in-depth information that it is that I'm going to be breaking down in this today's video with my own unique perspective on some of these matters here that I feel like are absolutely key to understand, absolutely necessary to have properly integrated into your system to be able to manifest things successfully and, most importantly, live the life that you're truly here to live in alignment with your purpose. As someone who has made the sacrifice, I am a living embodiment of how this principle works, and that is largely the place that I'm going to be coming from as I am sharing this information that I will throughout today's video. So if this is something that you are interested in, then I highly recommend that you stay tuned, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, so let's first get started with exactly what it is that we are here to talk about. So we are talking about the ultimate sacrifice that you have to make in order to live the life that you truly want to live, but once again, most importantly, the life that you're here to live, that is in alignment with your core, your soul's purpose. So what exactly does sacrifice mean? Jumping right out of the gate. A lot of people might think, do I have to make an animal sacrifice? What does this mean, Jeremiah? I know you're into occultism. I know you talk about some of the darker arts. Are you talking about a human sacrifice? And this is not at all what it is that I'm actually talking about. Let me first start with talking a little bit about the principle of sacrifice, just so that you can understand what this actually is and what this actually means. So to sacrifice something truly is to let go of something. It is to deconstruct something. It is to dissolve something that then through the death cycle naturally brings about the birth cycle. So if you think about the image, which is a common image that a lot of us have seen before, which is the infinity symbol, you basically have a 8 that is turned sideways, and it loops on one end and it comes right back and loops to the other end. This is the representation of the balance between yin and yang and how everything returns to its opposite pole at all times. Wherever you find a masculine energy, within time, you will find a feminine energy, and vice versa. Wherever there is life, there is eventually going to be death, and where there is death, there is eventually going to be life. So one of the primary principles it is that we need to understand as humans in order to successfully evolve, like literally at an emotional, psychological, mental, physical, and of course, spiritual level, is the principle of sacrifice. Now, in order to demystify and undemonize the word sacrifice, because once again, when I say that word, a lot of people have a bunch of negative associations that they attach to it. We could literally look at the word letting go or deep surrender as also sacrifice. So to sacrifice something is to put it on the line to eventually let go of it. So when we are letting go of something, when we are dissolving something, that is another form of sacrifice. And what we're needing to do is we are needing to make this inner sacrifice in regards to aspects, or I should say parts of us that are no longer in alignment with who it is that we actually are at our core and who it is that we are becoming. So literally, in order to move from one reality to a new reality, we have to implement the death cycle of sacrifice by utilizing it internally and letting go of certain aspects, whether it be unhealthy coping mechanisms, certain belief systems, unhealthy patterns of behavior and states of being. These are the things that we are going to have to let go, that we are going to have to sacrifice in order to slowly but surely move from the death cycle into a birth in a new reality. Now, this is very powerful, and this is something that actually every single one of us is doing on a daily basis. I would say a lot of people are unconscious to this, but the more aware you become of the soul development process, the more consciousness you have on these types of things. Now, this can go so deep that you can literally implement this within ritualistic practices or certain types of spiritual occult practices to further symbolize a process of going into the death cycle to then rebirth into a new timeline or rebirth into something that is actually more in alignment with who and what you truly are at your core. Okay, so in other words, when we use different types of rituals as occultists, we can present death symbolism through skulls. We can utilize the Kabbalistic tree and the different planetary energies that can associate that death energy, whether it comes through Saturn or whether it comes through the sphere of Death, which is represented by the abyss. We can present these energies to further initiate an internal process of surrender and letting go and dissolving, so that as we allow ourselves to do that, we can then integrate all of these deeper things that are truly underneath the surface, like repressed emotions, memories from past trauma, negative thoughts, and we get to observe these things, be with these things with acceptance, integrate them, and then sacrifice it, let it go, let it move through the system. And this is very healing for the person that is able to do this. This is a very deep healing process that absolutely causes some significant changes within the system that then raises the vibration within the nervous system. You could think of it as literally raising your frequency at an actual energetic nervous system level by processing these repressed things that were in the system. And that is only going to really happen, that integration phase or that processing phase really only happens when you let yourself die or make that sacrifice to these things that are preventing you from surrendering into the deeper portions of your unconscious to then integrate these repressed energies. And as that's happening, once again, as you are integrating these things, you are changing your vibratory rate, you're changing your frequency within your body at a nervous system and an actual energetic level, which then correlates to how you step into the birth phase or the butterfly phase, going from a cocoon into the butterfly, and then you step into a new reality, or you embody the energetic template of the vibratory frequency of the reality that it is that you are most drawn to, the one that you most desire at a core soul level. And there are reasons why there are certain realities that you might actually desire that potentially could be outside of your conscious awareness, because your soul knows what it is that you truly need and want at its deepest core, even if you're not even aware of that yet. So once again, when it comes to sacrifice, this is something that has literally been utilized throughout time, throughout ancient history. A lot of cultures didn't fully understand, like older cultures, we could say, that performed animal sacrifice, that performed human sacrifice. All of these different groups of people and cultures that did these types of things, they were absolutely operating off of that principle of initiating a death process so that something else could be born. But the reality is that you don't necessarily need to make a sacrifice in a physical way with a human or an animal. Of course, that's something that you're not really wanting to do, because there's going to be a lot of karmic consequences and a lot of repercussions by the law, okay? But ultimately, as I'm saying, this is not something that you have to do in that way. This is actually an internal process that you can initiate within yourself. And that is what it was literally always rooted in. It was always based in this sacred inner process, which literally turns into a sacred journey that you go on with yourself. So rather than having to sacrifice an animal or whatever else in order to create this death energy to then be able to move into a reality that you think you want to live in reality, all things are you. So everything is just everything is just presenting a deeper reflection back to you. So if you're sacrificing things outside of yourself all the time, thinking that that's what's going to do the job for you, you're wrong, because that thing is also a reflection of you. So you are also in some regards sacrificing you. And that energy that you're sacrificing something with is eventually going to come back to you regardless. Now that is where the principle of sacrifice can be amplified when it comes to occultism or spiritual practices, if you actually have a healthy foundation of what it is that you're doing and you know why you're doing it. So in other words, if you're sacrificing an animal because you think simply you killing a chicken is going to help you manifest something and that's about it, then you're approaching it from the wrong foundational education, and eventually that energy is going to come back to you and you're probably not going to know what to do with it because you haven't properly worked with your unconscious mind and those deeper portions of your shadow to know what it means to let go yet. Whereas if you understand the process and you understand the foundation of what it is that you're going to have to embrace within yourself, and you're willing to go through that, and you're wanting to use, let's say, an animal sacrifice to support that process, and also as you are venerating the animal as a reflection of you, meaning you're not doing it in a disrespectful way, or you're not doing it to just kill the animal and produce some result that you think you want, but you're actually seeing the animal as a reflection of you, and you're able to transition the soul of that animal into a healthier next life, then there can be some room for that type of ritualistic sacrifice that can initiate a deep internal process for self to a very intense degree that then you go through and you dissolve. And in that dissolving, this is where you are planting the seeds through intention of what it is that you are then going to eventually be manifesting as you come out of that dissolving phase, and then you step into more of a authentic self identity. So basically going from the darkness into a new light, where then you become the template on an energetic level of what it is that you are manifesting, but you planted the seeds in the darkness. Okay, so if you have that approach, then yes, an animal sacrifice could be used, but you don't need any of that. You don't need to do it that way. You can literally just work with yourself and ask yourself, what are the things about you that you feel like potentially you're involved with or you're engaged with, whether it's unhealthy coping mechanisms, unhealthy belief systems, different states of being that are no longer serving you and that are no longer a part of your process in regards to where it is that you're actually headed. And a lot of us are very ignorant and unconscious to some of these things that are actually keeping us in loops, cycling over and over and over again, which keeps us in some form of a confinement where it feels like we're kind of in a world that just is hellish, and it's just unfair, and it's annoying, and it's unnecessarily painful, etc. Until the pain eventually becomes enough that we ask ourselves, and we finally introspect and we say, you know what, maybe there's something that I can do here. Or maybe I can at least set the intention to seek some perspective or to seek some knowledge or someone that has life experience to help me better understand what it is that I'm going through. And then that becomes the path where the person can start slowly and surely setting themselves free, okay, from their own cycles that they were attached to. But most of us, I mean, all of us truly, we have a deep-seated intuition where we have a knowing at the core of our being. And if we're in tune with our bodies, if we're in tune with our sensations, we will sense these different things. But even though we can have these knowings, it doesn't always mean that we're acting on them. It doesn't always mean that we're following through with that. So there's many people, this was my experience for a long period of my life. I had a lot of substance abuse issues. Now, it wasn't like super, super hard substance abuse with like heroin or crack cocaine and things necessarily in that nature. The worst things that I kind of got to was, taking Adderall, which is close to that stuff, and Kratom and prescription pills, which is very serious and very severe. But ultimately, I was able to work through that and address the foundation and start working through traumas that were some of the reasons why I was using some of these substances. And I was able to change my life drastically and sacrifice those things in order to move into a new reality that was much more in alignment with who I actually am and where it is that I'm headed in life. But as I was still using those substances, it was keeping me in a certain reality that I wasn't able to necessarily break out of or step out of, because it's all about energetic resonance. And once again, I knew at my core there was certain addiction problems that I had. Even though I knew that, there was many times where I just didn't stop using the substance, because the reason why I was using it is because I was riddled with different traumas from the past, from my unique trauma history from when I was just a little kid coming all the way up to where I am now. So I had a bunch of emotions and sensations that were kind of repressed in my nervous system that were actually driving a lot of these unhealthy behavior patterns, because through the traumas I went through, I developed parts of me, protector parts of me, that were protecting me by sometimes escaping my deeper vulnerabilities, my deeper emotions. And in order to properly heal those things, I needed to face that. So one of these big sacrifices that I had to make was to these different attachments and these unhealthy coping mechanisms, and of course, belief systems, in order to move into the reality that I knew I was being called to move into. Now, all the time that I allowed myself to fully let go and I made that internal sacrifice, it moved me into a space which was, in many ways, at many times, it was very uncomfortable, because it felt like I didn't have control. It felt like I didn't necessarily have a grasp on life. It felt like I was different than everyone else, almost like I was embracing a process that most people don't honor and that most people don't embrace. So I felt a little bit lonely in the sense of isolation. I felt like it was harder to connect with other people. I felt a lot more vulnerable in life, meaning there was a little bit more fear towards things kind of triggering me in some sense. But as I allowed myself with time to find an acceptance for this state and allow myself to be there and create safety so that I could embrace it with acceptance, over time, I became more comfortable there. It became safer and safer and safer and more comfortable, to the point where I got used to it and I realized, wow, this is my raw, natural being. And in this state, I am literally invincible. I am formless. I am all things. I am no thing and all things at the exact same time. I am existing within the mass collective unconscious realm of all things. So I'm able to see through things so clearly. And I can see that most people aren't existing in that energetic state, but I'm seeing through the veil in that way. And I'm learning extremely deep things. And I'm gaining so much understanding from living that experience. And as I'm saying, within that time, I started coming up naturally with like intuitive impulses of things that I wanted to create, things that I wanted to do, things that I wanted to manifest, things that I wanted to experience, whether that be a feeling, an energetic state of being, a certain type of relationship, a certain type of physical manifestation, like a nice car or a nice house, things in that nature. I started naturally seeing these types of things bubbling up to the surface when I was in this deep, deep state of inner sacrifice and inner surrender, not really, grabbing or holding on to the things that I was so used to holding on to, but choosing to see them show up and then letting them go over and over again. Well, you see, it was in this state that I was planting so many different seeds. And at the time, I didn't fully understand the energetic dynamics of what was taking place. But looking back, I was in the death cycle. And in the death cycle, that is where you're planting the seeds inside of the dirt. That is where you use this formlessness of death energy to get down to the core of beingness, where you are all things. And from that state, you become a god. You become a creator of all realities. And it's not that it happens like this and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes acceptance. It requires healing of trauma and nurturing the inner child when you're in that state. But it's in that state, as I'm saying, where you are now visualizing, you are intending things into existence that are setting themselves up to become future timelines eventually along your process. And as you surrender to that and exist there, naturally, these inclinations, these intuitions, these impulses, these instincts will kick in for things that are meant to manifest themselves into your life. And the more you can surrender to that, the more you can heal these repressed energies, which all of us have. All of us have this repressed trauma in our nervous system. And the more we integrate that stuff while going through the death cycle, the more that seed is being nurtured. And then it eventually sprouts into a fruit. It sprouts into a very strong standing tree that literally stands the test of time and can't be broken down. I want you to think of a very, very tall oak tree and literally how many years an oak tree can live. Like oak trees can survive, to my understanding, hundreds upon hundreds of years, as long as they're generally being taken care of by nature. All right, so we can do the same process internally, but it requires that inner sacrifice. And literally, I can tell you from real life experience, the times when I allowed myself to fully surrender in that way and sacrifice physical attachments, belief systems, states of being, unhealthy coping mechanisms. When I did those things, and it was an incremental learning process, I wasn't always perfect with it, but I knew I had to let go of certain things here and there. And the more that I was sacrificing, the more I was getting to a raw, vulnerable state of me just being what I was underneath the surface, without avoiding myself or without escaping myself. When I allowed myself to go to those states and I stayed there and I allowed that to happen with acceptance for however long it needed to, it is from those time frames that I ended up manifesting some of the most significant changes in my actual life. Literally going from working at Home Depot, living in a warehouse in some random ghetto in Orlando, Florida, to literally building a business in the matter of a year and no longer having to work a regular job again, to eventually where I'm at now in a much more beautiful place in Florida, right on the beach with my own condo that I own and have a lot of safety around me. Okay, so I'm a living embodiment of this principle and how this stuff really does manifest and why it is so valuable and important to understand. All right, so the sacrifice that you have to make is an internal sacrifice, and the things that you need to let go of are things that you already at your core intuitively know. So it's a process of allowing yourself with compassion to slowly let go of those things, slowly sacrifice those things of this different nature that is a part of your old nature, your old self, that now needs to be let go so that you can step into the new, so that you can step into your new self and now resonate at a different vibratory rate, a different vibratory frequency, so that you can be the template for the life that you're wanting to live. All right? Once again, occultism and spirituality as a whole supports this process significantly. This is why occult rituals actually manifest. And when you know what you're doing, they literally can manifest drastically and significantly. I've seen it happen over and over and over and over again, but it doesn't mean it's easy to experience. Going through a deep death cycle of working with the deep unconscious realm within yourself once you've initiated it through a spiritual ritual, because this is utilizing different types of sciences that are beyond what most humans understand to channel energies that help bring you into that surrender process, help you sacrifice the aspects and parts of yourself and your life that are no longer in alignment with who and what you truly are. So this is why rituals aren't necessarily for everyone, but once again, you can use rituals, and people do, and I do as well, to help initiate these changes within self that then produce physical changes in regards to the world or the reality around you, because everything is a reflection of self. So as within, as without. So many people spend time trying to focus on this external goal or this external outcome or this external thing that they're trying to manifest, and they completely bypass and forget that when you're working on the internal and you're working through repressed energies like emotions and sensations, and you're healing in that way, and you're nurturing your inner child, and you're creating a healthy foundation around yourself in regards to healthier coping mechanisms and things in that nature, your inner state starts projecting externally. Regardless, you start manifesting a much more beautiful, opportunistic, vulnerable, sensitive, compassionate, loving life with much more freedom and things of that nature. And that is worth it. So this was the message that I really wanted to communicate in this video. So hopefully you as the listener can understand truly what it is that I'm saying and what it is that you individually and uniquely are needing to sacrifice within yourself. What is the sacrifice that you have to make? Can you tune into that right now? Can you figure out what that little step is? Because it doesn't have to be something drastic, doesn't have to be something major. You don't have to cold turkey on anything. What's the little letting go process that you can start engaging with right now in this moment? That is what I encourage you to do. So with that being said, this is where I'm going to wrap it up. If you got value from this video, hit the thumbs up button. That lets me know that you just got value from this. Drop down into the comment sections and let me know what you're learning. Let me know if you're receiving what it is that I'm teaching. And also, if you have your own experience with this, share your experience with me. I would be more than happy to hear that. Okay? Hit the notification bell, get notified whenever I post this content. You don't want to miss out. This is such valuable information. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, because by subscribing, you're going to further connect to everything it is that I'm teaching. So definitely make sure that you are taking advantage of that. Also, if you know someone that needs to hear this message, if you know someone that will gain value from this, I highly encourage you to copy and paste the link and send it over to that person. All right. Now I'm going to take your awareness to literally the most important link within the entirety of the YouTube description itself. This is the first link in the YouTube description, and it is the Patreon. Okay. On the Patreon, I have exclusive content that is only for the members. I have well over 270 exclusive videos that I have put a lot of time and energy into cultivating to offer significant amounts of value to everyone that is tuning in. There are over 1,100 members that are currently signed up for the Patreon itself, and that alone speaks for itself. So if you're not a part of the Patreon and you're not signed up, I highly encourage you to do so. I have all different types of education broken down in different collection sections, which is easy to navigate, all the way from occult knowledge, education, and things like what we just talked about today that are very valuable and very important, all the way from ritualistic practices that I'm performing on camera and then teaching you how to do yourself, nervous system education on how to regulate your nervous system, education on trauma in regards to how trauma plays a big role in the self-development process and how that interrelates with spirituality and occultism. Okay, education on occult initiation when it comes to the Kabbalistic tree. I'm breaking down things that most people do not understand, and the way that I'm communicating it is in such a practical way that you can use it in your life practically. So check it out. Now, tier number 3 and 4 of the Patreon itself is giving you access to an entire ritualistic service that I perform on the 29th of every single month, which is called the Universe B Vampire Ritual Service. This is the only service ritual that I perform for anyone, and it's for my collective consciousness for people that are signed up for tier 3 and 4. And what this is this is a significant energetic transfer from me to you as the active receiving participant. So based on all the different life experience as well as initiatory experience that I have, there are a lot of things that I've been through and changes that I've made within my nervous system as well as my energy field. And that can actually be transferred through occult sciences to you to support you through your process of working with some of these deepest layers of your unconscious and then eventually merging with your shadow, so that then you can start developing a deep acceptance for that and integrating it in a healthy way, and then emerging an authentic self-identity eventually with that deeper connection to the foundation of your soul. Okay, so this is something that I offer, as I said, to any member that is interested in taking advantage of this ritualistic service, which is for tier 3 or 4 members. And there are actively 300 participants that are signed up for this ritualistic service that are continuously receiving it every single month. So if it's something that you want to take advantage of, look into it. If you want to educate yourself a little bit more, I have an entire playlist that will educate you on what this vampire ritual service is about and what it means to be a Universe B vampire in the first place. Okay, so go ahead and check that out. It's in the playlist. With that being said, we're going to wrap it there. First link in that YouTube description if you're interested. Second link below, this is where you can book a one-on-one call with me. If you have any questions, I would love to do a call with you. It's also where you can jump directly into mentorships. I do a 6-week mentorship as well as a 3-month mentorship. This is one of the most powerful, intimate ways to work with me, where we're going to be getting to know each other on a personal level and work through some of your specific, unique traumas by understanding your trauma history. I'm going to help you identify negative repressed emotions that you might be storing within your nervous system that need to be worked through. And then we're going to cultivate together a healthy, unique foundation for you specifically to help you work through these traumas and also regulate your nervous system so that you can live a life that you actually enjoy living and that actually makes sense to you. Okay, so you can have a deeper understanding of what's going on within your system. Now, ultimately, once we've done all these things, if you're interested in it, then we can start pursuing occult initiation. But that's only once we get the foundation locked down. But if you're interested in occult initiation, that is absolutely something that we can take advantage of together as well. And I can guide you through that process. So I work with a whole bunch of different clients from literally all over the world. Right now, my entire schedule is pretty much full, but there's always room for me to fit new people in. So if that is something that you are interested in and you resonate, take advantage of it. All of this is in the second link below. All right. Now, in the same second link below, you have an option to book a tarot card reading with Alexia. She's a very gifted tarot card reader that can help you navigate the things that you're going through now and what to expect in the near future. So definitely take advantage of that as well if you want your tarot cards read by Alexia. Okay? The third link in the YouTube description is a LUCIFERS Foundation course, which is a very powerful course that gives you a step-by-step structure on everything it is that you need to know and understand in order to develop a healthy relationship with the energy that is known as Lucifer. So definitely consider it. Tons of people have purchased it. People are continuously buying it. So if you want to take advantage of it, it is the third link in that YouTube video description. We'll leave that there. Fourth link is where you can become a YouTube member. And as you're becoming a YouTube member, you are showing up with your name appearing green. You have a special badge next to your name. You are entering into the Universal Mastery community and the Universal Mastery family. And I would be more than happy to invite you into that. Okay, I love seeing YouTube members appear in the live streams and just show up in the comment section. So if that's something that you want to take advantage of, definitely consider it. It's the fourth link below. Now, the fifth link below is my book recommendations for you. This is going to give you absolutely everything you need to know in regards to the fundamentals of occultism, from the angels to the demons, to the tree of life and death and the tunnels and the archetypes. All of that very important stuff that literally can stay with you on your tool belt for the rest of your initiatory process or spiritual journey in general. That knowledge and information is in the fifth link. It is a 4 ebook bundle, super easy to purchase, super easy to read through, yet very potent and very valuable. All right, so definitely consider that as well. And then below that, I have another series of courses. Right now, the only course that I have inside of that section is called the I've Been Cursed course. So if you're someone that's dealing with psychic warfare or some form of a psychic attack, this course is designed to educate you on everything it is that you need to know to liberate yourself from that negative energy in an authentic, healthy way that will literally set you up for the rest of your life, just in case you ever were to attract that back into your life. So many people tell you got to protect yourself this way, you got to hire someone to protect you, all this crazy bullshit. That is not at all the case. It really is rooted in something much deeper within the shadow and the unconscious. And when you have that proper education, and then I give you a practice as well within the course, this can really help you know what it is that you're experiencing and how to actually integrate it and then release it ultimately. So with that being said, definitely look into it. That is also in the YouTube description. With this being said, we're going to wrap it up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.